pivot tables, and so having this application right now to kind of understand how my business is doing on a daily, on a weekly basis is great, but I'm still not going to get away, go without my pivot tables for really deep custom analysis. So it really, that's an example of how I think of kind of Office applications within that Dutch world. The one core thing again is a lot of the applications that we have today and we will have more so in the future can be easily ported over to Windows Phone as well. I mean, they have this same core base of their technologies, and so it's very easy to port them onto a Windows Phone 8 as well as needed. Again, it's not the same exact thing for different reasons, but it's incredibly easy because you don't have to redo the coding again. With that, let's kind of dig into kind of the social aspect, and I think a lot of people have different definitions of social. When I first heard of social, I thought of Facebook, Twitter, and a lot of us typically would have a Facebook account. But it's really not that. I mean, my point of view in social is forget the technology, forget what applications and what capabilities we have for Micro. When think of the end user and what social interaction means to an end user, both from a consumer point of view and in the enterprise. I mean, humans are social animals. That's how we live, that's how we work. We interact with people, we get our ideas, and we share information, and we, in general, collectively get work done, not in silos. And that is really key. And when you think of kind of, to put things in perspective, when you think of kind of how has social kind of capabilities or the ways of communication and collaboration evolved over the last, I would say, 25 years or so, or maybe 30 years. I mean, you started from what was then a really mobile device, which is really a brick that you held onto your ear. Exactly, and I mean, who remembers that? I know that was the first time I ever saw a cell phone, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Probably charged like $5 a minute around that one, so I don't know how people afforded that. But we've gone from that to email, to just the massive explosion of internet access as well, to instant messaging. And a lot of these capabilities, email for example, or instant messaging, these came in many cases from the consumer end. I mean, the first email account I ever had was Hotmail, and this is, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. And these have now come into the enterprise. Instant messaging was really, in my mind, was not heard of 10 years ago. Now, I think probably 60% of customers in the US use Link in the enterprise space, use Link for instant messages in the enterprise today. I mean, that's a fantastic statistic. I mean, good for Microsoft, because we're the ones providing that solution. But the core thing is that's a modality of communication that is now successfully, just like email, transitioned from consumer into the enterprise. And what that does is now kind of gives you context around the new upcoming or the current social capabilities of microblogging and the fact that you can now follow someone on Twitter, you can follow some documents, I mean, those capabilities now are mainstream in the consumer space. Half of the planet actually is on Facebook, right? And so now that's really slowly coming into the enterprise. And the question is not really if, the question is how can we best bring in those capabilities and introduce them within the set of solutions we already have in place and bring it to our end users within the organization in a way that's more intuitive, in a way that doesn't necessarily distract them from the way they do business today. It should be additive and help them do things that they want to do in a smoother, better, faster fashion. Not necessarily you don't have to force a new way of doing things and may force them to learn how to do X, Y, or Z. This is something that our point of view has been allow end users to really do what they do best. And if there's a certain way of using Facebook type or Twitter type capabilities that they want to use in the enterprise, let's make that happen, and so that it's not something that they have to learn on their own. And that's really kind of where we are today. With the SharePoint and Yammer, you'll see a lot of that coming together in a really robust way. And this is really the start. I mean, there's a ton more that we expect to actually deliver in the next 5 or 10 years. I mean, who had thought of Facebook and Twitter 10 years ago? And it's almost a given now in many cases. So this is rapidly evolving, and our approach has been to really bring that into the enterprise in a way that makes sense. And so let's go back to the definition of what is really social. Social is not really capabilities or feature sets. I mean, I hate to talk about feature sets ever, right? But it is really enabling everyone in the organization to interact with people, to get information from people, from our document repositories and so on, and be able to make business decisions in a quick, efficient, and accurate manner. That is really social. And how you do it, it really depends on the situation, it depends on the person, it depends on the specific business name. I mean, the communications can be based on people within a team talking to each other and collaborating with each other, to people from one office